As for Suicide Squad, we had like a long talk about this during our planning meeting here, and it spun out into a larger conversation about superhero games.
Yeah,
I feel like the buzz on Suicide Squad is extremely lukewarm, if not full on tepid. Like I've seen a lot of people really grossed out by how much this is a capital L, capital S live service game.
Yeah, this
is very much. It requires an online connection, which again is a reality for a lot of games in this day and age. But ultimately, why? This is the team that gave us the Arkham games, and I think a lot of people want that kind of thing. And the Suicide Squad is awesome. There's something extremely gamey there, but it's just this feels a little bit like something for everybody and nobody at the same time.
Max, you and I used to have this phrase called the cone of disappointment, and it's when you picture like a upside down pyramid, right? A big ice cream cone, and it starts off at the top with like the team that made the Arkham games is making a brand new superhero game in the DC universe. And you're like, all right, yeah, cool. Tell me about it. It's a Suicide Squad game. Oh, all right. Those guys. Well,
I would.
Batman's in it, but
yeah, it's the Justice League is there. Okay,
all right.
But they're the bad guys. Okay,
all right.
Play as the Suicide Squad. Okay,
and it's a live service game that requires an always online connection, and a lot of the gameplay grind is about getting incremental shoulder pads for your shark guy that ups your buff damage by 0.04%, and then you're at the very bottom of the ice cream cone, and it's just not good down there anymore. It's hard, and there's no sugar.
Yeah, the thing that bugs me about this is that superhero games have superhero comics have like two things going for them. They have this power fantasy side to them. It's about people who are like super powered. That is a defining characteristic / trait of them. That's what they are. They also have stories.
Yeah.
And then when you have a multiplayer game where everyone kind of has to be balanced, and you also are there's like a loot grind there, so you have to keep people engaged. I mean, there's going to be you're going to get shoulder pads that make you feel stronger and make you feel leveled up. Okay. There's going to be story in there, but it kind of feels like that's not really the best way to go about that. The Arkham games sure as heck nailed it. You go plummeting down and just beating the crap out of a bunch of goons. And that did what it told us a great story, and it captured the thrill of being that superhero.
The Arkham games are also rooted in the Metroidvania genre. So, I mean, the Arkham Asylum literally is one. And so when you do get incremental upgrades to your character, they're functional, and they fundamentally let you interact with the environment in new and different ways, right? You upgrade stuff and you improve stuff, and it feels tangible. It feels like this is something that Batman's becoming stronger. And that's rooted in, you see it happen in the comics and in the movies and stuff like that, where it's like Batman has a problem with a villain in town. Him and Alfred work together in the lab, and they make up some cool new thing that they can attach to his suit. And it's not necessarily like a knee pad that gives you, minus 7% poison damage, because that's not really what I'm there for when I interact with superhero content. Like when I watch movies or read comics or play games or something like that. And I think that Suicide Squad's missing the point. Avengers missed the point of that. Whereas something like Spider-Man has RPG elements, right? It's got unlockable costumes. It's got little things that you can be plus 3% and stuff like that, right? But also that's built on an RPG system that is embedded in a action adventure game that has a rock solid story and incredible gameplay that perfectly takes what that character is known for best. Well, and celebrates it.
The key thing there is, and I think we've seen this kind of across the board with superhero games, there's sort of two varieties. There's the single character. There's Arkham, even original characters, Infamous, Prototype, Spider-Man, all great examples where it is a single character with a defined moveset / this is what they do. This is their superpowers. Cool, great. That's one thing for the developers to focus on. The entire game is tailored around how you interact with that world using these abilities. Opposite end of the spectrum, you have team-based games, which historically have been better when they focus on just the variety and the size of the roster. Like Ultimate Alliance, the Lego games.
Yeah.
When it's it's got 117 different playable characters, and they're all Legos, which is all right, it's that's funny, that's cool. It's but it's
they're blast.
It is,
yeah.
It works because it's kind of this, cheerleader effect of oh, look at them all. I love them. All my X-Men are right there. And we've had sort of when games try to do, I guess, too too solid of a team-based game, like where the primary selling point is not just the roster. Like the roster-based stuff works in fighting games too. We've got like MVC, we've got Injustice, where like it's just a bunch of superheroes beating the crap out of each other. Cool, great. The actual world behind them, I mean, Injustice has environmental kills and all that, but like it's not the focus. The devs aren't trying to like have every character balanced to tell a bespoke story for that character, engaging in the world. Like it's kind of all like it's a little fanficky, it works in that area. And then we've got games like X-Men Destiny, where it's like kind of, I think you had like a handful of you had like an original character, which had like one of 3 different types of flavors of abilities, and then you kind of got to hang out with other X-Men.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not really the appeal of X-Men. It's kind of like making your own character within this universe. There's also Gotham Knights, where you're playing as 4 people who aren't Batman. And then there's Suicide Squad, which is the same issue. Avengers is kind of the same way, where it's like none of the Avengers feel like they're really like this game is really made for them. They're all kind of doing the same thing. They're all kind of like powerful. They're all getting new gear. What, like the Avengers aren't about getting new gear though, like that's not.
No, and
it's
like
and neither is the Suicide Squad. That's the thing that like it makes sense. Like when we're talking about the Arkham games, I know this one's part of the Arkham universe, but like it makes sense when you're playing as Batman, not when you're playing, for me anyways, not when you're playing as Harley Quinn. Like she's known for that oversized mallet. Like, like not for like upgrading her boots and her shoulder straps. Like this is the thing why I don't think they realize like they're working when you're making a superhero video game, you essentially have like a cheat code, like because what you're working with is like you're gonna have a built-in fan base. So you're gonna have the hardcore gamers who probably have seen the movies and the cartoons and whatnot, and then you have the casual gamers and maybe some people who just don't game really, but they're interested in it because it's like one of their favorite IPs are attached to it. And what I noticed in the state of play was that they didn't really talk too much about like the source material. Like, how are we going to adapt this to what we've seen as like a comic book fan? How are we going to adapt this to kind of make sense for the world that's been built in DC Comics?
What sucks is the Suicide Squad is extremely video gamey. Like there is a game mechanic there. It is about a group of, ragtag mismatched people, and it's permadeath. Like they're sent to do crazy suicide missions, and if they screw up, too bad, they're dead. That's it. And if they misbehave, they're dead. If they go off the mission path, their heads blow up. Like it's their current version of
this game. Basically, I think is a tough sell to hardcore fans of these characters, and for people who are like don't really care at all, like me. It's even tougher because it's like you can get me into buy into a game like this maybe if there are characters in it that I recognize, but like I've seen both Suicide Squad movies, and I've read some of the comics like way back in the day, but like nothing about this is going like, oh, Brian, you got to play this immediately, you're gonna love it. It's also like, to me, it feels like this game was pitched before we saw a bunch of games like this with more recognizable characters die out. Like we've seen a bunch of games as a service games die out just this year. A bunch of online like locked multiplayer games have died out this year. And so like this feels like it asked a question when it began development 6-7 years ago that has been answered since then. And it's got a really uphill battle, I think. Like I think it's going to be really tough to convince people you need to buy this game, you need to play this game, and you need to stick with this game and keep playing it and don't delete it and don't trade it in, because it's got to live as it's a service. Like it has to keep growing and evolving and staying. And it's not just like a one and done Spider-Man situation where it's like I play through that campaign, I'm finished with it, but then I'll go back and mess around at some point. This is going to be one of those games where it's like they want you there. They want you playing it all the time. They want you checking in. They want you getting those dailies and weekly bonuses and all that stuff.
It's completely antithetical to a series famous for killing off its characters and leaving them dead.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
I don't know. I think this could be like a great like foundation for like an XCOM like. I mean, Midnight Suns kind of did this, where I think you can have permadeath if you play on Nightmare mode, but the idea that you like spend all this time building up this character and then they die and you can't use them anymore. That's like it's ruthless. It's brutal. It's also kind of the defining characteristic of what the Suicide Squad are about. This is just sort of Borderlands with more jumping, It's also like there's just a ton of gun-based combat, which is like, it's fine, but it's like,
That's not my favorite thing about superhero stuff.
You don't like when the shark uses guns?
I like
In
when
any other context,
people.
I actually would love.
Or scythes.
Akeem, you're going to benefit of the doubt this thing though, right? Like I think
100%.
I think you're a little more optimistic about it than we are.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, because this is the thing. I feel like, I'm hoping we just don't have the clear story, the overall picture of what they're trying to make here. Like, I'm hoping, like, with what we said here about like permadeath, I hope that's a thing. Like, I just don't see sitting in that room, conceptualizing this video game, knowing that it's going to be based on the Suicide Squad. I just don't see them saying like, no one's gonna die. Like, you're gonna. Like, I don't see that happening, and I'm hoping they don't do like they don't do the whole where it's like it's part of the story where someone dies, or so it's like a cinematic death for King Shark. I'm hoping that it's like in just gameplay. You get your health is too low, you die, and then that's it. And you have to with whomever you have in your squad, you have to keep. That's who is going to be with you towards the end of the game. So you might end up with just 2 squad members towards the end of the game. So I'm hoping that these were thoughts. Like, there's no way that we're thinking of this right. Maybe it is, but I would like to think that has been thought of, when they were thinking about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my concern is the people who are calling the shots on what this game is or isn't aren't so much concerned with making a faithful Suicide Squad game that is fun to play as they are with making a successful product. And that's the necessary evil of video games, is that they're arts and they're entertainment, but they are also products, and they exist because they make money, and that's bad reality. But I don't know.
I think it's just a bummer to get 2 back-to-back not Batman games.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird. And again, it's weird because for the longest time, like, Marvel was just like kind of tossing a shovelware, and DC was like, here's Arkham, like, here's Injustice, here's awesome stuff, and now they're like you guys can make a new Batman game whenever you want. We're cool with that. We'd like to play a new Batman game. Seems like it'd be kind of fun.
Awesome Batman movie last year that would have been that's a great basis for that. Like,
yeah, I mean the blueprint is there. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, so let us know what you think. Are we being too negative on Suicide Squad? If so, please don't be too negative on us. We're just having a conversation.
We're just talking, man.
Yeah, just trying to have a conversation. What the hell?
What's the problem?
Yeah.
I'm still gonna play it. Yeah.
Threaten people.
You got something to say? You can say it.
I'm sorry about my friend here.
Just know that it's gonna make us sad. All right, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna get real upset if you're mean, because no, you can be mean to us. That's fine. But I will say, if you are excited for this game, tell us why. Let us know. Like, clearly they're building this for someone, right? Like, they've been working on this thing for a long time. They must have scoped this at some point, tested it with people who are like, oh yeah, I love this Boomerang guy and his Nerf guns. This is great. Plus 4% against Batman Tainted Boys.
It's also weird that, like, with Marvel, we got like Miles Morales, we got Guardians of the Galaxy, and then we got Midnight Suns, which are all like completely disparate, drastically different games. And we got Gotham Knights, which is like 4-player co-op, Batman-centric melee combat. And then this is like, okay, it's 4-player co-op, gun-based, Justice League-centric co-op. And it's like, okay.
It's the Suicide Squad edition of Gotham Knights. Is what right. Like, nothing in that gameplay was like, wow. I mean, like, the fact that you can swing around as Harley Quinn doing Spider-Man stuff is cool.
It's pretty. Yeah. Like, it looks like visually it looks good. But
that's that issue of making a team-based game. Like, they could have zeroed in on any one of these characters and been like, how do you make mechanics and a moveset and tailor a story around this one particular character?
Yeah. Also, like, again, if this didn't work for the Avengers after Endgame came out, when that game launched, like, Endgame came out, and they were like, we are handing you a silver platter of hype, and that game couldn't deliver. It's not going to work for Boomerang.
That's what I was for Captain Boomerang. That's exactly what I was saying. Like, you have a cheat code. Why are you not taking advantage of it? Like, you have like these movies and these TV shows that are being released around the same time. Like, why aren't you capitalizing on this? Like, that's the thing that just kind of boggles my mind.
If you enjoyed that, check out full episodes of Beyond, IGN's PlayStation shows. We goof around about everything PlayStation related, sometimes covering it seriously. New episodes drop every Tuesday on IGN.com or YouTube.com/IGN Games.